months, so I just told him just to buzz pretty much everything off and all that. So.
I'm trying to think, did you have a key last time? Okay.
They have like a little single blade razor, so I just kind of, you don't like go past the stubble, you just kind of
just do the best you can, huh?
You just gotta go with that.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How about you guys?
Good.
I did not expect to see this, that's for sure.
Surprised.
Yes.
Well, let me put some fears aside. We're not here for what you might think we might be here for.
Well, they didn't know what that's a computer room. I was like, I didn't know we had a computer room.
Without computers.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you remember, I talked to you, Tammy talked to you, Dave talked to you. We're all Colorado. And so the last time we talked to you, it was a different situation, right? Our investigation was open and your case was open. That's completely different now. So your case is completely closed. Nothing about what we're going to talk about today has anything to do with an open investigation. So we're not here to get more charges on you or get any statements from you that are going to jam you up anymore, right? That's all done. So all of our cases are closed and the court case is closed. So there's nothing that we're going to talk about today that's going to get you in any type of trouble at all. And so I wanted to make sure you knew that's not why we're here. Okay. But why we are here. So the three of us work from three different agencies, right? Quite a bit different. CBI, FBI, and Frederick. Different goals. And the things that happened with you kind of all brought us together. And as the months have passed on since everything happened, we just keep in touch with each other. We keep talking to each other. And we've all separately kind of said, did Chris seem unique to you? And me and Tammy have talked about this. Dave and I have talked about this. Did Chris's situation seem different to you? And we keep having that conversation. We can't quite put our finger on it, right? We think that your life leading up to all of the things that happened were very interesting to us. And for me personally, I don't know if you remember, but one of the last things you told me was, hey, Graham, I'm sorry that I started lying. And that stuck with me for the last couple months. It's been ringing in my head, right? I've never, ever worked a case like this where someone told me that, ever. And so as I walked away, I thought, Chris is different. Chris is a little bit unique in that regard. So in talking with Tammy and talking with Dave, I said, what did you feel like when it all went down? When we were there, when we were talking to you guys, and we all kind of, in our own different way and in our own different wording, said it all happened a bit too quick for us, right? So when we saw you last, we were talking about your family, about your parents, about everyone. And then the next thing you know, for me and Tammy and for Dave, all of a sudden some patrol officers came in and arrested you. And that was far quicker than we had hoped it would happen. And you understand why that happened, and we understand why that happened. But it left us with 1,000 questions that we didn't get to ask. And then even more importantly, I think it probably left you with 1,000 things that you didn't get to talk about with us. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but and so that's why we're here today. We wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about everything. I think there's a lot of things that you didn't get to talk about, and so that's why we're here. And it sticks with me that to this day, there's not one person that's told me, I saw it coming. I knew Chris was like that. I knew it. Not one person. So it's interesting to me, right? Not one. So we want to talk a little bit about that. Some of the
For years, the world believed it had heard everything there was to hear from Chris Watts: courtroom confessions, interrogation footage, prison letters. Each revelation seemed darker than the last. But now, a newly surfaced prison recording is raising fresh questions about what he truly thinks and whether the full truth has ever been told.
Happened. I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
Stop. It's time. Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
feel sick to your stomach. And when people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell on your face, I could tell from the second you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and just be done with this. And I appreciate that because you knew sitting down in that chair that you weren't going to pass today, and you knew I was going to find out because I told you that. And then you continued to stay knowing that you could, at the end, say, you know what, I just need to get this off my chest. Like, I just need to tell you what happened. We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I have told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
It's not even an option right now because you did not pass the polygraph, so I know you were being deceptive.
The recording, reportedly captured during a monitored conversation inside the correctional facility where Watts is serving multiple life sentences, reveals a tone that many did not expect. Calm, reflective, at times disturbingly detached. Gone is the halting, confused demeanor seen during early interviews. In its place is a man who speaks with unsettling clarity about his past, his decisions, and how he views the world today. In the audio, Watts reportedly discusses how he believes people misunderstand him. He talks about pressure, about feeling trapped in a life he claims he couldn't control. But critics argue this framing shifts responsibility, subtly rewriting the narrative in a way that centers his emotions rather than the victims. What stands out most is not just what he says, but how he says it. There is no audible rage, no breakdown. Instead, there is composure, and that composure has left many listeners disturbed. Is this acceptance, manipulation, or something even more chilling? Experts who analyze criminal psychology often note that post-conviction narratives can evolve. Offenders may attempt to reshape public perception, reinterpret events, or rationalize actions in ways that protect their self-image. This recording appears to follow that pattern, raising the possibility that the story is still being edited, even years later. But one question lingers. If this is what Chris Watts truly thinks, what else has remained unspoken? If you want the full analysis, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter. As more details from the prison recording began circulating, certain statements immediately stood out, not because they were loud or dramatic, but because of how calculated they sounded. In the audio, Chris Watts reportedly speaks about the night of the murders in a way that feels disturbingly analytical. Instead of emotional reflection, he focuses on sequence, timing, and decisions. Listeners noted how he described events almost like steps in a process, detached from the devastating human reality behind them.
A maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed, with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole.
One of the most controversial parts of the recording involves how he frames responsibility. Rather than directly confronting the horror of his actions, Watts allegedly leans into discussions about stress, emotional distance, and feeling overwhelmed. While he does not deny what happened, Critics argue that the tone suggests justification rather than remorse. Psychologists often warn about this subtle shift. When offenders repeatedly revisit their crimes, they may attempt to reshape their internal narrative, not to deny guilt outright, but to soften it. Words like pressure and confusion can become shields, redirecting attention from deliberate choice to emotional circumstance. Another chilling moment in the recording comes when Watts discusses how prison has changed him. He reportedly speaks about faith, personal growth, and reflection. But for many listeners, the transformation feels incomplete. Growth without full accountability raises uncomfortable questions. Can someone truly change if they still frame their actions through self-focused language? The reaction online has been swift. Some believe the recording proves he remains manipulative. Others argue it simply shows a man trying to cope with irreversible consequences. But perhaps the most unsettling part isn't what he admitted, it's what he didn't say. There are pauses in the audio, moments where deeper details could have surfaced but didn't. When experts analyze prison recordings like this one, they don't just focus on what is said, they focus on how it's said. In the newly surfaced audio, Chris Watts' tone reportedly remains calm, steady, and almost conversational. There are no dramatic spikes in emotion, no visible rage, no breakdown, and for many listeners, that composure is what feels the most unsettling. Criminal psychologists often explain that individuals who commit family annihilation can compartmentalize their actions. Compartmentalization allows a person to mentally separate horrific behavior from their everyday identity. In recordings years later, this can show up as emotional distance, describing tragedy as if it happened in a different lifetime, or even to someone else. In this recording, Watts allegedly speaks in a reflective but controlled manner. He discusses faith. He talks about regret. But experts caution that remorse and reputation management can sometimes sound very similar. The key difference lies in ownership.
Pretty much like straddling her, how to do it. And she thought I was gonna hurt her or her baby or something. So, because she knew that something had happened. She thought I was just trying to just check out or something. So, and then that's when.
I know it's hard, but do you mind if we talk just a tiny bit deeper about that? So she comes home, she touches you, you guys have sex. It seems like she's doing her test, which I understand. It sounds like you do too.
I'm sure Nikki or Nikki, Cole Atkinson or Cassie probably told her,
That's what I was thinking, right? They talked about it during that whole weekend.
more than likely. That's my parents told me there was going through text messages. It's all pretty much they all.
True accountability centers the victims. Deflection centers the self. Some analysts have pointed out that when offenders repeatedly tell their story, the narrative can subtly evolve. Small details shift, emphasis changes, language softens. Over time, the retelling may reveal more about the speaker's current mindset than about the original crime itself. There is also the element of audience awareness. Watts knows he is speaking to someone. He understands recordings can spread. That awareness can influence tone and word choice. Is he speaking candidly, or is he shaping a version of himself for public consumption? These questions are why this recording has reignited public discussion. It's not just about what happened years ago. It's about whether the man behind bars truly understands the weight of what he did, or whether he is still trying to control the narrative. When a new prison recording surfaces in a case as devastating as this one, it doesn't just stir online debate. It reopens wounds for the families involved. For the loved ones of Shannon, Bella, and Celeste, every headline, every clip, every renewed discussion can feel like reliving the worst chapter of their lives. While the public may analyze tone, phrasing, and psychology, for the families, it is deeply personal. It is not theory. It is loss. Reports indicate that reactions to recordings like these are often mixed. Some family members want the world to hear everything, to fully understand the gravity of what happened. Others would rather the voice of the man responsible fade into silence, believing that continued attention gives him a platform he does not deserve.
What's going through your mind right now?
I don't know where my kids are. I don't know where Shanann is. It's not something I could ever fathom would happen in my lifetime, and I have no inclination of where she is. We've reached out to friends, family. Both of our families are back in North Carolina, so they're beside themselves. Like, we all have friends in North Carolina. We have friends here. We have friends everywhere, and not knowing like where she is or where the kids are, I don't know what to do right now. I just feel so alone in this house right now, and I don't know where to go from here right now.
And you said you had to stay here by yourself last night. When I opened the door, it's like you're almost like.
I mean, my heart's racing a mile a minute. I mean, everything that's happening the last few days, it's earth-shattering right now. It's like my world's been turned upside down. It's like I have friends that have offered I didn't feel like I should have left last night, like just in case, like maybe she came back, maybe the kids came back, maybe something happened, maybe there's a knock on the door. I wanted to be here. I didn't think last night was a good time to stay with anybody else, or, I mean, I want friends to be here with me because that just makes me feel better.
And how do you think the police have responded so far?
It's been amazing. They've been in constant contact. Frederick Police Department, detectives, officers, sergeants. They have the dogs coming through to get scents. I mean, they've been on top of everything. Missing persons reports. Everything's been. They've been.
Do you have any idea where she could be?
She said she was going to her friend's house with the kids, and that's the last thing I heard. And that was it. It was very vague, and it was very. I don't have no inclination of where she is. Every friend that I've called that has a car seat that could have come and got her.
And you saw her yesterday morning?
Yeah, I saw her yesterday morning. She got back from the airport, and I mean, she has to be somewhere. In my heart, I believe that she is somewhere, and I hope that she is safe.
Search dog go in your house right now to get a scent. A line of police cars.
I'm so happy that they're here right now doing everything that they can. It scares the living crap out of me right now, just knowing that it's come to this and that she didn't come home last night with the kids. Like, Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, if you're out there, please, just come home.
And you, yesterday, when her friends were calling frantic, something in you said, well, she'll just be home.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like her not to answer a phone call or a text. And when her friend Nicole showed up at the door, I was just like, all right, something's up. And I came home, and it was like I walked into a ghost town. Like, everything, she wasn't here, kids weren't here. It was just they were here, and then they were gone.
Yeah. And did you see the kids in the morning, too?
Just in the monitor.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you leave really early.
Mm-hmm.
Public response has been equally divided. Some listeners say the recording provides insight, that understanding his mindset may help prevent similar tragedies in the future. Others argue that amplifying his words risks shifting focus away from the victims and toward the perpetrator. Victim advocacy groups frequently stress one central message: the story should never become about fascination with the offender. The lives lost must remain at the center of the conversation. Bella and Celeste were children with personalities, laughter, and futures ahead of them. Shanann was a mother, a daughter, a friend. Every time a recording resurfaces, there is a tension between curiosity and compassion. And then there is the broader public, millions who followed the case from the beginning. For them, hearing his voice again can be jarring. Time may pass, but the emotional impact lingers. This chapter of the story reminds us that true crime is never just content. It represents real people and real pain. In the final chapter, we'll examine what this new recording ultimately reveals and what it does not. After the headlines fade and the shock settles, one question remains: what does this new prison recording actually reveal? On the surface, it gives listeners something they haven't heard in a while. Chris Watts speaking in his own voice, years after sentencing. It shows composure. It shows reflection. It shows a man who has had time to think. But beyond tone and phrasing, the deeper issue isn't just what he says, it's what the recording represents. For some, the audio reinforces a troubling perception. That even now, the focus can drift toward his internal world rather than the lives that were taken. When offenders continue to speak publicly, there is always the risk that the narrative shifts from accountability to analysis of personality. The recording does not change the facts of the case. It does not alter the verdict. It does not undo the harm. What it does reveal is how stories evolve over time. Public memory shifts. Curiosity resurfaces.
Colorado, like, it moved me away from, like, the DOC there, because I just knew, like, 'cause they were saying there was a hit on me. They said if I was going to a DOC in Colorado, like, I'd last a week and I'd be dead. Because of, like, the gangs and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I just felt like God moved me here for a reason, and I'll, hopefully I can help people that way. But, like, I didn't want my family, I didn't want Shanann's family, all of our friends, like, having to go through that, because after a while I knew it was, like, this stuff was everywhere. And I knew, like, all her Thrive friends, everybody, that was just, like, they would just broke just that hole in their heart just a little bit bigger every time. I didn't want that. I knew it would have gotten worse. I didn't want it to get any worse than it already was.
Did you ever think about, well, it could be very believable, what I told him, it could be very believable that Shanann did, end the girls. And so maybe if I tried to convince people that, maybe if I fought with my attorneys on that, maybe I could lessen it somehow. Did you ever think about that?
Honestly, I never even thought about the story until you guys mentioned it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wondered.
I never even thought about it until you guys mentioned it.
So what did you think about it once it got mentioned?
It's just like I just went with it. I didn't, like, I knew my dad was out there. I knew it was like, I knew they would probably believe it because, my mom and my sister just never really liked Shanann. And I knew, like, I mean, through all this, like, I got letters from some of my friends that even said, when we went to your house, we could see, Shanann was more of a dominant personality and more of like, hey, you're always helping with the kids and everything. Just, you're a great dad and everything. We could see, a couple things that I never saw or, whatnot. And even my best friend Mark even said, there was always, something, I didn't really get with Shanann. I was like, nobody ever told me any of this stuff, but okay. But yeah, I never thought about that story. And, that's what my attorneys were going with.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think it was probably the second week I told them, like, what had really happened.
What did they say after that?
They were quiet. They were writing it down.
And each new piece of content, whether letters, interviews, or recordings, becomes part of an ongoing conversation about responsibility, remorse, and the psychology of violence. But perhaps the most important takeaway is this: no recording can rewrite history. No reinterpretation can soften the reality of what happened. The real story is not about the man behind bars. It is about Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, the lives lost and the family forever changed. As we close this series, it's important to step back from the recording itself and look at the bigger picture. The resurfacing of prison audio may spark curiosity, debate, and analysis, but it does not redefine the case. It does not change the outcome, and it does not shift where the focus ultimately belongs. Years have passed, yet the impact remains. Cases like this continue to draw attention because they challenge our understanding of trust, family, and the hidden struggles that can exist behind closed doors. People revisit the details not only out of curiosity, but in search of understanding, trying to make sense of something that feels impossible to comprehend. The new recording reminds us of something else, too.
So she started her begins. And she lost it.
I don't know, like, what else to say, like, I freaked out. Those are my kids.
So she, found it that one time. You were leaving the place and going to work. She freaked out over the separation and everything.
Like, she laid back down, but that's when I went downstairs, but I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it.
And then you went back upstairs and she was...
Never, I could see, like, she was on top of me.
Choking her or... Did she kill her?
They're blue.
Both of them?
Yeah.
She choked both of them to death.
I freaked out at the same thing. I don't know what to say.
Time does not erase accountability. Reflection does not undo action. And words, no matter how calm or composed, cannot rewrite history. What truly endures is the memory of Shannon, Bella, and Celeste. Their names are not footnotes in a crime story. They are the heart of it. Any discussion, any documentary, any analysis should ultimately circle back to honoring their lives rather than amplifying the voice of the person responsible. As viewers, we also carry responsibility. The way we consume true crime matters. Seeking insight is one thing. Glorifying tragedy is another. Respect, balance, and empathy should always guide the conversation. If you followed this full breakdown, thank you for watching thoughtfully and respectfully. Before you go, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Your support helps this channel continue producing structured, responsible coverage. And if you found this series informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss future documentaries.